This week on TechRap, Flappy Bird developer Nguyen Ha-dong says the addiction has gotten out of hand. Pulls out his app from iTunes, Google Play. We unbox the bright red Nexus 5. And it's battle of the Octa-core smartphones. In the ring, the Starmobile Diamond X1 versus the Cherry Mobile Cosmos Z2. Hi, I'm Michael Josh, and this is TechRap, your weekly source for tech news, gadget reviews, app recommendations, and social media tips. Just like most of its players, Flappy Bird's stint ends abruptly. On Monday, Flappy Bird developer Nguyen Ha-dong removes the popular smartphone game from iTunes and Google Play app stores. The following day, he explains his decision, saying, quote, "It was just too addictive. That was the main negative." Earlier in the week, Nguyen tweeted about how people were overusing the game. In the Wall Street Journal interview, he says, quote, "I just wanted to create a game that people could enjoy for a few minutes. Users who downloaded the game can still play Flappy Bird, but those who don't have it on their smartphones can no longer get it legally." Uber, the app-based on-demand chauffeur service, comes to the Philippines. Unlike products like Grab Taxi or Easy Taxi, when you rent an Uber car, you're not getting a taxi. Instead, you get a chauffeur, a high-end car, no markings, usually in black, leather seats. The chauffeur will open the door for you and even offer you some water. While the service is a big departure from what we Filipinos are used to, Uber Regional General Manager Mike Brown promises the luxury service is one that he will keep coming back to.
Transport options, because in many cases they'll come back to Uber and they'll ride with us a lot because we've got a good thing and we continue to try to improve it.
An MP3 player you can put in your water bottle? Yes, please. Sony, with the help of ad-firm Draft FCB, comes up with a brilliant way to market their waterproof W-Series Walkman by putting it inside a bottle filled with water. The move quickly highlights how the earbud MP3 player is waterproof. Sony now focuses its efforts on selling the W-Series Walkman inside water bottles in vending machines, gyms, and other similar facilities. It's official. Sony is killing off its NEX camera series, and all is not lost. In fact, this week, the Japanese tech giant unveiled a groundbreaking interchangeable lens mirrorless camera, the Sony Alpha 6000. As the successor to Sony's critically acclaimed NEX6, the A6000 lives up to its pedigree and now holds the record for the world's fastest autofocus. The camera has 179 face detect and 25 area contrast autofocus points and takes no more than just 0.06 seconds to focus. Focus tracking is also impressive. It can focus and shoot at 11 frames per second. That means that even if your subject is quickly moving towards you, the camera will be able to keep it in focus. The A6000 also has a 24.3 megapixel CMOS APS-C sensor and Sony's new Bion's X image processing engine, the same one on Sony's high-end full-frame A7 camera. Like its predecessor, it comes with the same tilting 3-inch LCD display, an OLED optical viewfinder, and Wi-Fi connectivity. NFC is now also included. With the launch of the A6000, it's pretty clear that Sony's E-mount is here to stay, in two varieties, APS-C and full-frame. The A6000 will be priced at $800 with a 15 to 55mm kit lens, or $600 body only when it is released in April this year. Last week, we started the show reporting that Google had announced a bright red Nexus 5. This week, we have one with us. Check out our unboxing video of Google's bright red Nexus 5. Announced just last week, we purchased our red Nexus 5 in Hong Kong. Unlike manufacturers like Apple and Samsung that have retail stores, Google sells its flagship Nexus phone online via the Google Play Store. Released just once every year, Google's Nexus runs off a version of Android that doesn't have the sometimes clunky customization of smartphone manufacturers. It's Android the way Google intended it to be. Inside the box, you first see the smartphone. The pictures don't really do it justice. The red Nexus 5 is less of Ferrari red, but more like an almost neon red-orange. We are in love with the color. The phone screams to be noticed. We love the feel of the matte back, although it does feel a little bit too light. Sometimes you want it to feel a little bit more solid. Also in the box, a SIM card removal tool, which is slightly smaller than the usual Apple paperclip, a USB wall charger, and a USB cable. The phone does not come with earphones. Going back to the phone, the device is exactly the same phone as its black and white siblings. In terms of button placements, you have the volume rocker on the left and the power button on the right side, next to the SIM card slot. On its top, a headphone jack, and on its bottom, a micro USB port and speaker grills. On its back side, you have both the LG and Nexus branding. LG, of course, has made the Nexus 4 and the Nexus 5 for Google. Also on the back, an 8-megapixel camera with optical image stabilization built in. Considering that a spring mechanism is needed for OIS, it's pretty impressive how LG was able to fit that into the device. Up front, a 1.3-megapixel front-facing camera and a red earpiece. There are no capacitive buttons on the phone. The back, home, and multitasking buttons are built into the display. The Full HD IPS panel is great, a bit desaturated compared to the S4 or the G2 for example, but this really is a matter of preference. The phone runs off a 2.3 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 800 processor and 2 GB of RAM, and feels very snappy and responsive. Because it's a Google phone, Google services are tightly integrated. When the device is unlocked and you are on the home screen, you can speak out voice commands or search queries. Google Now is also a swipe to the right from the home screen. The red Nexus 5 ships with the latest version of Android 4.4.2, KitKat. Barely 2 months into 2014, local smartphone rivals Cherry Mobile and Starmobile go head-to-head with the launch of true Octa-core smartphones, the Cosmos Z2 and the Diamond X1. Times like this call for a TechRap smartphone battle. Let's get ready to rumble! Round 1, Specs. While a device's spec sheet is only half the tale, it's one that's always worth looking into. Both the X1 and the Z2 sport the same 1.7 GHz MediaTek Octa-core processor and 2 GB of RAM. But the Cosmos Z2 has a more superior display, a 6-inch Full HD screen with Asahi scratch-resistant glass, and 16 GB of storage space versus 8 GB on the Diamond X1. The Diamond X1, on the other hand, sports a better battery, 2,300 versus 2,000 mAh. Round 1 goes to the Cosmos Z2. Round 2, Performance. The other side of the story is performance, and sometimes better specs doesn't always mean a faster smartphone. There are many ways to measure how well a device performs. One easy way is a benchmarking tool like Antutu that tests a device's CPU, RAM, and GPU. In 3 succeeding tests, the Diamond X1 outscored the Cosmos Z2, scoring over 27,000 each time. The Z2 consistently scored above 25,000. Still nothing to be ashamed about. For context, on Antutu, the Nexus 5 scores over 26,000, and the Octa-core version of the Galaxy S4 scores just over 28,000. The scores are a huge improvement over the device's predecessors. The Diamond V7 scores over 13,000 on Antutu, while the Cosmos Z scores over 15,000. Startup times for power-hungry apps confirm the benchmarking results. The Diamond X1 loads processor-hungry Asphalt 8 a tad bit faster than the Z2. This is probably because it takes less to power the X1 720p display. Overall, the X1 feels snappier. It's also worth noting that despite its lower resolution display, the X1 is a better device for multimedia consumption. The device has dual Yamaha speakers, and the difference is audible. Round 2 goes to the Diamond X1. Round 3, Camera. While both phones sport similar camera apps, we notice that there is a slight delay when getting the phone to register what the camera is seeing. And while both phones turned out pretty good 18-megapixel images under almost all conditions, the Cosmos Z2 was the clear winner. The X1 seemed to lack proper levels, and as a result, shots turned out darker and without the same pop as shots taken with the Z2. In these photos, it also failed to capture the blues of the skies. One area the X1 succeeded was focus distance. Despite its strengths, the Z2 cannot focus till about a foot away. Take a look at these shots of Danbo. This is the best the Z2 could do. The X1 was able to shoot real close, creating a creamy bokeh effect. Round 3 goes to the Cosmos Z2. Round 4, battery life. We used both phones for a week, and after a day of regular use, we got pretty consistent results. The X1 with its slightly better battery and lower res screen lasted longer than the Z2. With regular use, both phones will last you a decent 8 to 10 hours. Round 4 goes to the Diamond X1. Round 5, software. Cherry Mobile did a good job customizing Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. We liked the flat redesign, thinner lines, circular outlines. The design aesthetic is carried out into its app icons, settings, and messaging in camera apps. Unfortunately, customization stops there. Starmobile prides itself in customizing for the Filipino user base, based on how it thinks Pinoys use their smartphones. You'll see little touches here and there. The messaging app, for example, includes a return button, because Pinoys love to send long text messages. It's also included Starmobile Sync, which allows you to import contacts via Bluetooth, even from old candy bar Nokia phones. Because the X1 is a phablet, we also like its iOS-like assistive touch feature. You can turn it on via settings, one-handed operation, and then quick controls. Once active, you have shortcuts to back, home, and menu buttons, which is perfect so you don't have to strain to reach them. The thought that goes into customization makes this an easy round. Round 5 goes to the Diamond X1. Round 6, price. No surprises here when it comes down to pricing. Cherry Mobile has always offered their smartphones at competitive prices. We're told this is one of the company's core values. The Cosmos Z2 is 1,000 pesos cheaper. Props to both companies for respecting the 15,000 peso barrier. Cheaper price tag, better specs. The Cosmos Z2 wins round 6. Round 7, design. While we usually start with a design debate, we're saving this one for last. After 6 rounds, it was right down the middle for the TechRap review team, the same way we felt about the matter of design. The Diamond X1 gets props for its ultra-slim form factor and aluminum backplate. We're never fans of phones that feel too plasticky, and this design is a first for a local smartphone manufacturer. We also like the Cosmos Z2. While mostly plastic, it didn't feel like a budget smartphone. If there is one complaint, it's the weird power button placement on the X1. Muscle memory ensures that we're always reaching for the power button on the right-hand side of the device. After a week, we still didn't get used to its oddly placed power button. But otherwise, what's not to like about both phones? The Diamond X1 is thinner, the Cosmos Z2 is lighter. In the end, this one is too close to call. So, which Octa-core phone should you get? If you're looking for a device with a great camera or a slim form factor, get the Z2. If you're looking for a phone with a bigger screen or one that's perfect for multimedia consumption or gaming, get the X1.
And that was TechRap. If you're viewing the show for the first time, don't forget to check out new episodes. We post them every Sunday on Rappler.com. But for your daily fix of tech news and gadget reviews, log on to Rappler.com/technology. Follow Rappler.com on social media. Join our conversations online. And if you have any tech questions, don't hesitate to send us an email. All the details are below. That's all for this week, folks. I'm Michael Josh. Thanks for dropping by.